Good morning. Welcome everyone to the Oregon Cyber Resilience Summit of 2025. It is an honor to be here among so many passionate professionals dedicated to strengthening our collective cybersecurity posture. Today, we're diving into the evolving mindset of zero trust, a concept that is reshaping how we think about security in a world where traditional parameters no longer apply. Zero trust isn't just a trend, it's a strategic imperative. As threats grow more sophisticated, digital ecosystems more complex, we must shift the implicit trust to implicit verification. This approach is identity-centric, context-aware, and continuous adaptive, ensuring that trust is never assumed but always earned. Together, we'll explore adopting zero trust framework can empower organizations to build stronger, resilient, reduce risk, and enable innovation without compromising agility or user experience. Let's embark on this journey towards a smarter, more dynamic security, because in today's landscape, trust isn't given, it's verified. As you know, my name is Michael Tiebout. I've worked in IT for over 20 years. I hold an Associate Applied Science with a focus in computer technology. But my focus shifted and my passion for cybersecurity started in 2013. This is when I started supporting semantic data loss prevention and the world of security, protecting companies' data from insider threats and outsider threats. For the past 3 years, I've been with Fifth Third Bank as a lead information security engineer on the IS platform operations team. This is where I focus my zero trust infrastructure. Today, I'm excited to share my thoughts on zero trust and what it means, why it matters, and how it is shaping the future of security. Now, let's talk about zero trust. At its core, zero trust is built on 5 pillars: identity, devices, networks, data, applications, and workloads. Traditional security models rely on a trusted perimeter, the idea that everything inside was safe, but the perimeter is gone. Remote work, cloud services, and mobile access has changed the game for everyone. In today's hyper-connected world, the old model doesn't work. Cyber threats are more sophisticated, and attackers exploit trust assumptions. Zero trust flips the model on its head. Nothing is trusted by default, not even inside the network. Everything access request is treated as potential hostile and must be continually verified. This approach helps organizations with the following. It protects sensitive data, it reduces the risk, ensures business continuity within the evolving threat landscape. And remember, 63% of organizations are already adopting zero trust, quoted from Gartner 2024. So, understanding why does zero trust matter? Because traditional approach into cybersecurity, trusting everything inside the network perimeter, is no longer effective. The perimeter has dissolved with the rise with remote work, the cloud computing, mobile access, and increasing sophisticated threats. The old model leaves organizations vulnerable. Zero trust flips the script. It operates on a simple but powerful principle: never trust, always verify. No user or device is trusted by default, not even inside the network. Every access request is evaluated in real time based on identity, device health, location, and risk signals. So you may ask, why is this critical? Well, attackers today exploit implicit trust to move laterally across networks, escalating privileges, exfiltrating sensitive data. Zero trust closes those gaps by continuously verifying and at least privilege access. The impact of zero trust is both tangible, transformable, but limiting unnecessary access, organizations significantly reduce their attack surface, making it harder for adversaries to find any entry points into the network. Device health and contextual factors prevent unauthorized lateral movement within the networks. effectively containing potential breaches. This is proactive approach, also strengthens resilience against today's most prevalent threats, including phishing attacks, credential theft, and system misconfigurations, ensuring that security is not just reactive, but it's anticipated. And the momentum is growing, according to Gartner, within 2024. 63% of organizations are actively adopting zero trust strategies. It directly addresses top attack vectors like compromised credentials. That's at 35%. Phishing is at 30%. Misconfigurations are at 15%. Zero trust isn't just a security upgrade, it's a strategic shift towards proactive, adaptive defense. How do we stay ahead of those threats, protecting innovation in the digital-first world? In today's evolving threat landscape, zero trust isn't optional, it's essential. Organizations are navigating a mix of complex challenges, including remote work, widespread cloud adoption, and increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks. Traditional perimeter-based defenses are no longer sufficient. Attackers no longer need to breach the front door. They exploit implicit trust within the network to move lateral and access any type of sensitive data they can have. Zero Trust fundamentally changes this dynamic by enforcing continuous identity verification, least privilege access, and context-aware decision-making for every access request in real time. This approach is essentially critical because it addresses the most common attack vectors. Compromised credentials, it prevents that. Misconfigurations, it prevents that. The most important, phishing and social engineering. Vulnerable software is another keynote. Any type of vulnerable software can be exposed to the outside world, which gives explicit control to them to expose it. By shrinking the attack surface and preventing lateral movement and embedding security into every access decision, Zero Trust empowers organizations to build stronger and more adaptive defense than align with realities of modern digital environments. This makes Zero Trust a foundation for modern cyber resilience and a critical enabler for secure data transformation. Traditional security models are failing because they rely on outdated assumption of internal trust, a concept that made sense when networks were closed and users operated solely on-premise. But in today's world, reality is vastly different, with the rise of insider threats, frequent misconfigurations, and the ease of lateral movement within networks, and have made the trust model dangerously obsolete. Once attackers gain a foothold, they can navigate throughout internal systems, hopping from network to network. And they can do that undetected, exploiting the very trust that was meant to be protected. The shift to remote work, cloud computing, and cloud adoption, and BYOD, bring your own device. Those three items have erased boundaries, and that perimeter-based security once depended on, it's no longer existed. If you're focusing on the castle and moat approach, simply doesn't work. The moat is gone. Attackers now bypass traditional defenses using stolen credentials, leveraging misconfigurations, and moving lateral across systems. It's no surprise that most organizations are already embracing Zero Trust. As a way to get close to these, a way to close these gaps and build more resilient security posture, Zero Trust doesn't just patch vulnerabilities, it redefines the security model for a borderless dynamic world. One example that I do have for this is a company that I know very well did not embrace Zero Trust, and they ended up having a breach. Even though the breach was very limited on what that company or the persons were able to collect, it still made that breach possible, and it made them think, what could we do better? How could we be more secure? Can we do this, or can we not do this? And that was the questions they asked. At the end, they asked the right questions. They were able to move forward with zero trust, and they were able to lock down their network. They were able to prevent further intrusions into their network. And that was in the most sophisticated times of technology. And the one thing that is human factor. The human factor is a big piece of that. With bring your own device to work, that potentially is a risk. We're taking that every single day when you step into your office. Zero trust is built on 3 foundational principles that redefine how organizations approach security in a borderless digital environment. First, verify explicitly. Never assume trust. Every access request must be validated based on identity. Trust device health and contextual signals using tools like multi-factor authentication, device compliance and checks, and location-based policies. Device compliance is a big one, because without device compliance, you don't have a baseline on where you may have a visible gap in your security. Second, use least privilege. Give the user, they don't need all the privileges. Give them the least amount, only enough to get the job done. Grant users and systems only the access they need. You minimize the blast radius of an event of a compromise. And that's very important, compromise. Because you don't know where the compromise may be. It may be inside a user network. It might be in an enterprise level network. Techniques such as role-based access control and just-in-time privilege elevation help enforce this principle. Third, assume breach. Always assume breach. Design systems with expectations the attacker may already be inside. This requires network segmentation and continuous monitoring of all systems and rapid response capabilities. Using tools such as Dynatrace, monitor your systems, have alerts set up, because this is where you're going to catch those systems being vulnerable at that time. Use Qualys, scan for vulnerabilities. Protect those vulnerabilities and scan for them, and then release them and close them. Microsegmentation and real-time analytics play a key role in detecting and containing threats. Together, these principles create a proactive, adaptive security posture that reduces risk, limits and impact of potential compromises, and supports resilience in an ever-evolving landscape. These are not just technical guidelines. They form a foundation of modern security strategy built for agility, trust, and long-term protection. Always look towards the future, because that's where your protection is going to be. These 3 principles, verify explicit, use least privilege, and assume the breach, aren't just technical guidelines. They are a form of foundation of security strategic that adapts to today's dynamic threat landscape. By embracing them, organizations move from reactive defense to proactive resilience. And being proactive in a security environment is a must. It's the #1 key factor that keeps compromises and threats at bay. A compelling real-world example of zero trust in action is Google's BeyondCorp. Faced with the same challenges many organizations encounter, remote work, cloud adoption, and the limits of traditional VPNs, Google reimagined access control by moving away from a trusted network perimeter, instead relying on location-based trust. They implemented identity-based access controls, where every connection is validated based on user identity, device health, and contextual signals. A good example of that is whatever laptop you have, you make sure that you always have the same security software applied across your organization. By having these in place, it allows you to deflect any control that laptop should or should not have. If it doesn't have CrowdStrike, it won't move on to the next boundary. This shift eliminated implicit trust. Even within corporate network, the impact was significant. Employees could securely connect from any location without friction of VPNs, improving both security posture and user experience. Productivity increased for users, spending less time troubleshooting connectivity problems, and the risk of lateral movement and credential abuse was dramatically reduced. Beyond Corp proves that zero trust principles can scale effectively and deliver real business value. It's not just a theory. It's a proven model that organizations worldwide are learning from. By prioritizing identity and context over network location, Google transformed security into an enabler of productivity. This is where future access control and its achievable organizations of all sizes. Zero trust isn't just a one-size-fits-all. It fits everything. It doesn't matter if your business is small, medium, or large. It can go through and adapt very quickly. Building a zero trust strategy requires more than just deploying the right technologies. It demands alignment across the entire organization. On the technical front, the foundation includes key components such as identity and access management for centralized control of user identities and permissions, multi-factor authentication, MFA, to strengthen verification beyond passwords, microsegmentation to limit lateral movement by dividing the network into smaller zones and locking those zones down, and continuously monitoring and provide real-time visibility into the user and device behavior. These tools work together to enforce least privilege and ensure that every access request is verified. However, technology isn't alone isn't enough. Success also depends on aligning zero trust initiatives with broader organizational goals, ensuring security supports business priorities rather than obstructing them, collaborating across departments, information technology, IT, security, compliance, and business units is essential. As measuring the impact of security improvements throughout the metrics like reduced incidents, faster response times, and enhanced user experience. Because your users are your frontline support. These are where they're doing most of the work. When executed effectively, zero trust becomes more than a security framework. It becomes a business enabler, driving security, digital transformation, and fostering trust with customers and all the partners involved. By combining strong technical controls with strategic organizational alignments, zero trust transforms security from a barrier to a catalyst for resilience and growth. Zero trust isn't just a technological shift, it's a cultural transformation. Successfully adopting requires more than implementing technical controls. It demands strong leadership, clear communication, and organizational buy-in. Leaders must champion the change, and users need to understand why this matters and how it affects their daily work. Without cultural alignment, most advanced security tools can fail in short. If anybody has ever heard of Cliff Embry's experience, he underscored this challenge by rolling out new security measures. He discovered that his messaging, though well-intentioned, was too technical for some colleagues to grasp. One admitted they didn't understand the changes or what the actions were expected, highlighting the importance of explaining the why and the practical impact of zero trust. Not just building technical details. Building a zero trust mindset means embedding security into organizations' values, their processes, and decision-making of everyday events. This cultural foundation turns security from a checkbox into a shared responsibility for the entire organization, making zero trust sustainable and effective in any environment. Zero trust isn't just for large enterprises organizations of all sizes can benefit, and it's scalable and adaptable framework. Whether you're a small business protecting sensitive customer data without heavy infrastructure, or a mid-sized company supporting hybrid work and cloud adoption. For a global enterprise managing thousands of users and devices, Zero Trust offers this flexible approach for modern security practices. This matters because today's threats don't discriminate by size. Attackers target vulnerable systems, and smaller organizations often lack the resources to maintain traditional perimeter defenses. Zero Trust levels the playing field by focusing on identity, context, and continuous verification rather than network location. By implementing these principles, organizations can strengthen resilience against modern threats, reducing the risk of credential theft and lateral movement throughout the network, and enable a digital transformation without compromising agility. Zero Trust is scaled for everyone, from startups to global enterprises, and adopting it as just smart but essential, building a security posture capable of withstanding today's evolving threat landscape. My final message: trust no one, but verify everything. Zero Trust has redefined security for the modern era, not by building bigger walls or by creating smarter adaptive defenses. At its core, Zero Trust is identity-centric, meaning every access decision begins with verifying who the user is. With its context-aware evaluation of device health, location, and risk signals and scores in a real time, and ensure the access is appropriate for every single user in your company. And it's continuously verified. Trust is never permanent. It must be earned with every request. Crucially, Zero Trust is not a destination but a journey. It is a strategic shift towards stronger resilience against evolving threats, reducing risk factors throughout proactive controls, and secure digital transformation that enables innovation without compromise. This mindset, security from one-time project into a continuous process over and over again, keeping organizations agile and smooth and protected in a world without boundaries. By embracing continuous verification and contextual awareness and identity-centric controls, organizations can build a security posture that is resilient, adaptive, and ready for the challenges of today's dynamic digital landscape. Zero Trust isn't just a framework, it's a mindset. By embracing continuous verification, contextual awareness, and identity-centric controls, organizations move beyond static defenses towards a dynamic, adaptive security. This journey empowers teams to stay resilient, reduce the risk, and innovate security in a borderless digital world. I wanted to say thank you for taking the time and your attention. I would like to keep this conversation going. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and let's continue building a more secure future together. And I have time for questions.
Testing. It is working. Hi, I'm Deb McCarthy from Washington State, and I've noticed like a resistance in getting this implemented in a lot of companies, and my theory is it might be just the naming of it, just the branding, because it does sound so adversarial. And I'm wondering what you think about that. I obviously believe in all these things and am moving towards those, but I do kind of feel like the branding has kind of made it harder to implement for some.
So in my experience, Zero Trust is it's a new way of thinking, and some companies really look at new ideas through a very wide scope. So when they see zero trust, they're putting that out there, and employees could come to them and be like, what, don't you trust me? I think that's why some companies are not as, they're hesitant to move over. I feel that with zero trust, it's all in how you perceive it. If you make it as a mindset and deploy the message of, it's not that we don't trust our employees, we don't trust technology. We need to look at the technology as widespread. And that's where everybody is human. We all make mistakes. Technology can only make the mistake if a human can program it to do. So I think that that's where companies are really resilient to move over.
Yeah, thanks.
Mhm. Any more questions? All right, Jose.